Hey, what's up, everybody? Jonathan Bailor back with April Perry. And as a special bonus on her epic sweet 16th birthday, she's actually giving us a present. She's giving us a present on her 16th birthday. We actually have Aaliyah Perry with us as well, the esteemed eldest daughter of April Perry. So this is just going to be an awesome show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Excited to get to share this with Aaliyah. Big day for her.
I thought it would be really, really cool for Aaliyah to join us today, because not only can we all celebrate in the sweet 16-ness, but also, Aaliyah, I know you've been doing some amazing work, not only personally, but also in your school environment in terms of setting an example and just kind of seeing through some of the insanity that's been taking place in grade schools, in middle schools, in high schools, and setting an inspirational example. So I just wanted this to be an open forum for us to kind of talk about that, because I know a lot of the folks listening to this show have children or know people that have children that are below the university setting and are exposed to some of this insanity. Maybe we can help them navigate through that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. And what I want to make perfectly clear as we're going into this podcast is that we really appreciate the wonderful people who work at our schools. She's had fantastic elementary school teachers, middle school, high school. We've had wonderful people who are the administrators and who are doing their best to provide a great education. But there are just some things that have just not been taught and that were negatively impacting Aaliyah and are negatively impacting other people. And so today we're not trying to be critical, but we're just trying to spotlight and highlight some of these issues that could easily be fixed and help other families.
I think that's really important to highlight that, April, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because not only for the sort of instructors or administrators, but even for ourselves as individuals. And we also sometimes need to say this about physicians, where if you were in medical school 40 years ago, you were taught one thing and you're practicing what you were taught and you're teaching what you were told to teach. So, we're not here to say you're bad, but what we are here to say is, just like we don't use the same computers or telephones or airplanes that we used 40 years ago, if someone will tell us that we've got new eating and exercise information, which we do, now it's time to use that as well, right?
Love it. All right, should we jump into number one?
Let's do it. Number one.
Okay. Number one, Aaliyah, take it away.
Moving more won't make you slim. So I had PE classes all throughout elementary school and even now into high school. And everything I'd been taught is you need to exercise if you want to be healthy, if you want to lose weight. So I would really try hard. I would try to run the miles. I would try to participate in the sports. I would just try to do as much exercise as I could, but I wasn't seeing any results. And I was so frustrated because my PE teachers were in shape, but I wasn't. And a lot of my friends were, but I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and there's a wonderful club at our school, which we adore. It's called the 100-Mile Club. And so the children are encouraged to run 100 miles throughout the year. And they come early in the morning.
There's lots of different events during school. So running is just encouraged.
They really are encouraging people moving. Moms come with their strollers. I would go in the morning with Eric. We'd all participate. And I love the idea of helping people move, of course. But I think what happened is sometimes that message gets lost. And we think that the more that you run, and if you get 500 miles for the 100-Mile Club, you could actually attain your ideal body weight and shape. And that's not what was happening with Aaliyah, and especially because her feet were really flat. It was actually hurting her physically to do that.
There's so much truth in what you just said, and I'll just add four things because we have a limited time. I could have a whole podcast about this because it's a brilliant topic, but the observations that I think we've actually seen over the past 8 years, we talk about, we're not here to criticize people, but when, for example, Michelle Obama first stepped into a position of leadership, she talked about really wanting to tackle the obesity epidemic, and she was talking about food and blah, 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 blah. If you noticed, the food corporations got a little bit upset about that. And then the message gradually transitioned away from doing anything about what you're eating and just move more. That's the solution. Just move more. If you would just exercise more, it's almost like back in the day of indulgences and Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation, where it was just like, sin all you want, then just pay the church money and your sins go away. And it doesn't work like that. So yeah, you're exactly right. Movement is fantastic for health. We should do it. But saying that, hey, eat Frosted Flakes, they're great and they'll fuel you to play more is not the right approach.
Yeah, and it's been really helpful, not just for her, but for me as a mother as well. So of course we want to be standing, walking, moving, exercising, but not being stressed about it or thinking that that's the key to solving the diabetes epidemic and the obesity epidemic. So, okay.
And also, let's keep one other thing in mind, is that one of the reasons it doesn't help from a weight regulation perspective is that just like when we move more, right? If you exercise hard, you sweat more. And what does sweating more cause you to do? Well, it causes you to want to drink more, right? So when you exercise, you sweat, and then your body needs to replace that water. So you become thirsty. When you exercise, you do burn calories. But remember, our brain is working to automatically balance calories for us. That's what it's designed to do. So if our brain thinks we should be heavy, then it's just going to say, oh, you burnt some extra calories. That's fine. It's going to make you hungry. I mean, how many times have we gone out, we play or we run and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm thirsty and I'm hungry. So we just cancel it out.
Exactly. And actually that goes right into number 2, which has to do with the foods that we're having at school. So number 2.
So just because food is served in our cafeterias, either at school or just in different places, doesn't mean they're necessarily healthy. Mm-hmm. So I see this a lot because our school, they offer a set menu of foods and it doesn't really change much. So the kids who buy foods from school, they just expect to eat that and be healthy, but it's
and there are some healthy options.
Yeah, there's some healthy options.
They'll have salad bars, they'll have baby carrots, some fruits. I think every school they're trying.
They're really trying. But a lot of the foods the kids want aren't the ones that are.
And when
best.
Every month they send me as a parent a menu for the month saying, here's what the cafeteria is serving for your children. And of course they have salad and fruit and vegetable options and things like that. But then it always is tacos, pizza, hamburgers, a lot of white flour or sugar or grease, and the chicken nuggets and things like that the kids will eat. But it's really frustrating when you think about, and the breakfast options are worse for the most part. And so when you just think, oh, you're sending these kids to school, especially the children who maybe are getting the lunch tickets or having the food served to them, most of the time it's just not healthy. And so I just think it's important for parents, as you're sending your children to school and as you're thinking about it, when you send them to the cafeteria, if you're trying to have your family eat sanely, that's gonna be really hard to have that happen at a cafeteria.
You're exactly right, April. And I think it's really important. This is, for me personally, this is the toughest nut to crack, right? Like when we talk about, hey, it's New Year's, we're recording this on January 8th. Hey, happy birthday and happy New Year's, Aaliyah. And it's easy, it's relatively easy for us to say, hey, this is what we're going to do in our individual lives. This is what I'm going to go buy at the grocery store, and that's fine. But when we talk about a school, which is on a super fixed budget, I bet they wish they could spend more money on food. I bet they wish they could serve, quote unquote, healthier. By their definition, is probably not actually healthy, but let's say it is. Let's say saner food. But the money and the funds just aren't there. And it's not that they want to serve that unhealthy food. It's just that, like, literally, if you have a budget of $1.25 per child for lunch, what do you do with that? And I'm not going to stand here and say, here's the answer, because that's actually a really hard problem to solve, and we have to make some societal changes to solve it. But I think the net takeaway of, if at all possible, we need to step in and do something and just not default to what's being served to us. I mean, maybe, is that the key takeaway?
I think part of it, I think the other thing is we're huge fans of Jamie Oliver. Aaliyah has loved watching what he's been doing, going into schools and saying, here, let me take your budget. Let me show you how I can make healthier food for the kids. And he's been doing great work. So she has this dream of meeting him someday. But I think that people are starting to address the issue and they're starting to figure out solutions. It's just that we need to at least acknowledge it's a problem before anyone's going to invest any time or energy or funds to solve it. And so I feel like that's just something that Aaliyah really cares about. Not that she eats at the cafeteria a lot, but she cares about the children who are, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Aaliyah, I have a question for you, because I know this has been covered in a lot of, Katie Couric's documentary, and any documentary that talks about food. They talk about school, and they talk about, they'll always give examples, and of course it's anecdotal, of the school cafeteria serves what the students eat. So it's great, they'll talk about, hey, we tried to serve healthier food and no one ate it. And, then we introduced Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut gives us additional money for our budget, and all the students are happy now. So, I mean, how do we also, there's two sides to this. It's one is serving that saner food. The other is that the students actually eat it. Do you have any insight into that?
I think a lot of students, they just eat because the food tastes good. They don't know what's in the food or what it does to them. And a lot of them just think, well, changing the food I eat isn't going to make me healthy. It's just the amount of it that I eat. So they're thinking more on a fixed calorie counting or calories in, calories out. whereas they're not thinking about what's in their food and what the food's going to do to their bodies.
So if they were more educated
So
about this.
Yeah, if they were educated about what the food they're eating will do to them and what results it will give them, I think then maybe they would change their perspective on that.
That really resonates with me, Aaliyah, because I can remember at this point now, many years ago, when I was very little, and I was obsessed with Rocky, and I was obsessed with Superman. And my mother used to tell me, and actually, you know, a lot of people could probably empathize with this because you can think of the cartoon character Popeye. When Popeye eats spinach, it makes him strong. I mean, so even kids at a very young age can understand if explained to them, like, hey, you want to be like Popeye? You got to eat your spinach. Hey, you want to be like Superman, or you want to be like Michael Jordan, or you want to be like someone you admire? You know, what you're going to put in your body is going to influence that. So I definitely think that could be very, very helpful.
Exactly. All right. Should we jump to number 3?
Sure. So sugar-packed cereal, French toast sticks, and juices aren't the foundation to a balanced, healthy breakfast.
I think we need to emphasize this because looking at the cafeteria, I mean, most people are eating lunch at the cafeteria, but there's also breakfast items, and not just the breakfast at the school, but the breakfast that kids are used to eating at home. And I know that's what I ate all growing up. It was a big bowl of cereal, maybe some orange juice, you know, juice and French toast and pancakes. That's what people think of as breakfast cereal or breakfast food.
Spinach and kale and salmon aren't really thought of as breakfast food.
And breakfast to me is actually so lunch is a harder problem. Like I just said, I don't really have a good answer for you for lunch. For breakfast, though, I mean, we got the incredible edible egg. I mean, this is especially for, you know, growing individuals, and this is something which we are going to see. I guarantee you, 20 years from now, we're going to see a much different perception here, because the science around healthy fats, the science around even healthy saturated fats, right? Certain saturated fats being not only not bad for us, but actually good for us. And looking at all the nutrient density and the protein that is found within eggs. I mean, there is a, you know, we talk about these 100-calorie snack packs. Well, there's this beautiful natural 100-calorie snack pack, which you just crack and sizzle up, and they're super inexpensive. You go to Costco, you can get 60 of them for $9. 60 eggs for $9. It is. So I just wish people would, you know, can we get some scrambling going on at schools?
I think, again, it goes back to education, right? Because if children just think, well, if I measure my cereal and I only eat 3/4 of a cup, and I only have a half cup of milk, and I only, you know, limit my calories or whatever on my breakfast, and most kids aren't even thinking that, right? They're just kind of pouring and just putting all that together. But I think that when we can educate the children, let them know, when you want to start your day, there's an emphasis on kids getting breakfast, making sure they're eating, because you have a lot of friends who don't eat anything.
Yeah,
right?
They'll think that maybe skipping breakfast and then just eating lunch or dinner would make them healthier or lose weight, but in reality it's not. They're just hungry the whole day.
Right.
Well, they're eating less, so that's all. I mean, there you go, right? They're on the right path. No? Is that, wait, what?
So
No.
that actually leads us into number 4, though, too, because what happens is when they don't eat breakfast and then they come to school and then they're hungry, they often go to vending machines. And so just our idea for number 4 is that if you want to be healthy, let's say you're a teenager watching this right now, or a student in elementary or middle school, you want to be healthy, the vending machines are not your friend. And we just need to be clear on this. And I know it's sad because you could look at the vending machine and it's
everything's
just
like $1, $1.50, and everything there tastes so great, and it's super cheap, and you can get it really fast. You don't have to wait in the long lunch line.
And what's typically in the vending machines?
Just all kinds of chips and granola bars, Pop-Tarts, things like that. Just a bunch of different
candy bars.
No, not candy
Not
bars.
candy bars. Okay,
No.
so they've cut the candy bars, but it's more like
It's like popcorn and chips and just stuff like that.
So for you eating sane, is there anything in the vending machine that can work for you?
There's not anything that would be like strictly sane. No.
Okay. So I think that's just something that's been really interesting. So as we've looked at her options, I mean, my school used to have a vending machine, you could get oranges out of it, and that was great. I think it was 35 cents. I could get an orange, you know, it was back in the day, but apples, oranges, I mean, they had some of those foods actually could be in a vending machine that I would opt for. And I just think nowadays, I think they are trying to get away from candy, but often there's just as many grams of sugar in a granola bar pack, or you know, giving chips or some of these other options. Really, they're not healthier options, even though the sugar content is lower. And so I just think we need to be really clear and help our children understand, here's what's in the vending machines, just so that you're aware and you know. And again, then you can just make an informed decision.
That's exactly right, April. And in some ways, I would actually say that these quote unquote, like these healthy granola bars can actually be worse for us because on some level, if you ate a Snickers bar, you might be conscious that like, hey, I just ate a Snickers bar. Maybe I'm not going to eat another Snickers bar tomorrow because I know a Snickers bar isn't good for me. But when the thing says, with, healthy whole grains, so you're like, oh, well, this is great. I'm going to eat 4 of them and I'm going to eat it every day because it's a healthy option, right?
Well, that was even my problem. I was telling Aaliyah the other day. So I actually sold candy in high school to pay for my cheerleading uniform. So I had this huge box and I walked around every day selling candy. And what happened is that I would eat the candy during the day because I'm holding it 100 candy bars or whatever. And I would eat Skittles. I think I ate a pack of Skittles every single day in my second period class because it was fat-free. So I thought, oh, well, the Skittles are the fat-free version of all this candy I have here, and I would eat that. But then I started noticing I was gaining weight in high school, and I was getting nervous. And so then I would try to eat less during the day, right, to compensate for my Skittles. And that was stressful to me. And had I known that it wasn't just about calories and fat content, and had I known how my body really worked, I would have packed something different. I honestly would have. But I didn't know. And especially being a cheerleader, there were a lot of other girls who were having issues with anorexia, bulimia. I mean, this was not just the cheerleaders, but very common among teenage girls. And so I just feel really grateful that I don't worry about that with Aaliyah because she's happy with her body because she takes care of it eating sanely.
That's brilliant. And I want to make sure that we do have some sane options, like the vending machine, like you said. I totally agree. Just steer the other direction. But then we have this gap, which is like, well, hey, the vending machine serves a purpose. I don't have a refrigerator. I need something quick. What do I do? And I will give 2 suggestions. I could give more, but these are going to be the lowest hanging fruit, like very hard to make an excuse, very easy to acquire. So the first one is nuts. If possible, raw. And these are going to keep you full. They've got a decent amount of fiber in them. You're going to get some healthy fats and you can keep them in your pocket. Very simple. The other one is jerkies. Ideally something that's going to be a lower sugar. I mean, there's some nonsense jerky out there, but when we're talking about just like the lowest hanging fruit, something that's like what you would find in a vending machine, but maybe you could bring it from home if you can buy nuts in bulk. And if you could buy jerkies, whether it's turkey, beef, salmon, they have pork jerky. They have all kinds of jerky. The jerky market seems to be exploding, but those are 2 good options.
And just one other thing I did do is I actually did have a lunchbox that had an ice pack in it. They've really got those that are easy. And so I would have chopped a lot more vegetables and brought them with me. That would have gone really well with the jerky and the nuts you just mentioned. So those are good ideas. All right, ready for number 5?
Yeah. So sugar in the long term isn't a prize or a reward. Because we see this a lot in our elementary schools especially, and also into middle school, where candy is just given out as a prize or an incentive to answer questions. So if you do a good job on your essay, here's a piece of candy, great job. Or you got 100% of the test, well, there you go, here's a candy bar. You see this all the time in elementary schools, and the kids get so excited about it.
And the teachers are honestly trying to do something kind. And I know that I used to, have candy that I would give to my kids as a reward. I mean, I did the exact same thing, so I'm not criticizing anyone for it. I just think we need to talk about this now. I mean, it's really common when you go into a teacher's classroom to see a big tub of red vines, and then they'll give those out to students as prizes. Or teachers often have a treasure box, and so you'll get a note from parents. I think they're trying to minimize the candy there, but there's often some sugary treats or things like that. And every time there's a class party, it's mostly sugar that's being given out as prizes. Or if all the kids, that class wins a PTA drive, they'll have
ice cream sandwiches.
Ice cream, something like that. And so what ends up happening is our children, from the time they start public school, and at home with parents, if they're like I was, they're being taught that if I'm good, then I get sugar. And I think what that does is that carries on into adulthood, where then I feel like, well, if I've been good today, I can go get sugar. And that's contributing to this problem we have.
You hit the nail on the head there, April. And it's this constant lifelong sugar equals good. And in a lot of ways, right, we also see the opposite of that, which is you can't leave the table until you eat your vegetables. So it's literally like you have beaten into your head from the day you're born that The vegetables are bad. They are punishments, and sugar is good, and it's a reward. And we absolutely need to reverse that. And it's like, well, how do we reverse that? And I'm going to be very geeky sort of engineer science guy here real quick. But one of the reasons that we don't hand someone a stalk of broccoli when they're sad to try and cheer them up is when you eat broccoli, you don't necessarily get a hit of dopamine in your brain, whereas you do when you just ingest sugar or any substance that human beings abuse on the planet. You know what else releases dopamine? Kindness. And you know what else doesn't have any side effects? Kindness. So you could say I love you with an ice cream cone. You could also just say I love you really deeply and meaningfully. And I know you probably can't do that in school because you might get in trouble, but maybe we could try to make an effort instead of saying, hey, Sally answered the question. Here's a fun-sized Snickers bar. Sally answered the question. Look at Sally in the eyes, make eye contact and say, Sally, that was brilliant. Thank you. I would argue that's going to get you more dopamine.
I think that's a great idea. And I know there are boys, as they've gone through Cub Scouts, they have a cheer box. And so there's different kinds of cheers inside where they'll do like the round of applause, where you go in circles, or they'll do like all these really cute cheer ideas. And I think that's a great suggestion. Just something that brings fun, lets people know that they matter, but not feeling like it always has to be sugar. And even, with parents, there's a lot of ideas of things like, oh, you get to stay up 15 minutes later than your normal bedtime and have one-on-one time with mom and dad. That can be a reward. Or I know I had a third grade teacher where if they had a student of the week, that student got to come in on a Thursday lunchtime and eat lunch one-on-one with the teacher and just have a special lunch together. Things like that. There's a lot of really good ideas out there that don't involve sugar. And I think the more that parents are helping support that, and the more that educators can learn about these ideas to make their job easier and reduces the amount of sugar they have to have in the classroom anyway, I just think it's a good direction to be heading.
One example I have from my life, which is another tool that people can put in their arsenal, is we say, well, how can I'm out of ideas for like little things I can give, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I love that. Well, one thing my mom did is she ran out of ideas about like little things she could give. So what she did is she didn't do little things anymore. She said, look, when you get to 15 good things, then you get like a trip to the video arcade. So, so you can also do that too. Like maybe in the classroom, maybe you only have a morale budget or whatever you call it. In the corporate world, it's called a morale budget. I bet it's called something else in grade school. But it's like, maybe you don't get something each time you answer a question properly. But once you get to 20, then you get something cool.
I love it. I think that's an excellent idea. So we'll keep thinking about more ideas there. But I think that's great. All right, number 6. You ready?
Yeah. So just if budgets are tight, then eating sugar isn't the answer.
So we need to talk about your home economics class. I think this is really important.
So my home ec class was one of my most favorite classes in middle school. And we did sewing, and I got to learn how to cook, and it was just so fun to be there with my friends and do lots of stuff that I really enjoyed. And there was one section where we learned a lot about healthy eating, and we learned about calories and calorie counting. We learned about what foods were good for our bodies and what foods we should avoid, and just things like that, just how we could be healthy later on in our adult lives. So after we learned about all this healthy food, how we could eat healthy and how we should eat healthy, we went in and cooked the food in the kitchen. And all the food was things like popcorn and cookies, brownies, breads, pizzas, just everything like that kids really enjoyed, but that weren't really healthy for us. So I went and asked my teacher, well, how come we're not making the healthy foods that we've been learning about for so long? And she goes, well, there isn't room in the budget for the healthy foods. And I was like, I'm this overweight 8th grader and I really want to eat healthy. And there's no room in the budget for me to learn how to make healthy foods. Like,
that didn't make sense to you, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that, of course, we acknowledge that unhealthy food, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, white flour, those things are inexpensive and people typically like them. But I think if we really want to make changes, we need to start talking about, okay, here's the least expensive nutrient-dense protein, or here's the least expensive whole food fats if you're on a budget. If you have more wiggle room, here's what you could do. Or here's the vegetables that you could afford. I mean, helping our children learn how can I eat healthfully on a budget, I think that's one of the most critical skills that's not being taught anywhere. And I know for one, I want my children to know how to do this because I'm not going to be funding them their whole lives. They're going to be on budget. They're going to be in school. But I don't want them to ever think, well, just because I'm on a budget means that I need to just fill my diet with sugar.
think that's 100% correct. And I think there's also a lot of macro level things that we're starting to see change here. But I think, Aaliyah, your generation, April, you and our generation, I think we're called to say there's a reason that these insane foods are so inexpensive. Like, we did things after World War II as a country to make these foods less expensive. We did, and we don't have to do that anymore. Like, we can vote with our dollars. We can put leaders in offices that can make it so that when you walk into McDonald's, the salad with a chicken breast is the same or less than a Big Mac. We can do that. We have the ability in the United States of America to do that, but we're just not. So, I mean, of course, we need to act on the grassroots level. We need to take care of our own lives. We have to take care of our children. We have to take care of our schools. But I really just want to give a call to action to everyone to say, like, if we really want to solve this problem, we can, at a political level, reverse this, and we can make it is absolutely economically possible to make sane foods as inexpensive as what are currently insane foods.
Yeah, and I think that's inspiring. So I'll give maybe my suggestion for next action, and then you can want to add anything here to close out. But I think just a next action has to be for families to have the conversations and help educate their children and help the children become part of the solution. Because if it's just moms and dads keeping their kids in the dark about what's good and what's not, and just saying, no, you can't eat that, or here's what you should eat, the kids aren't going to make the right choices. But I found that anytime I have conversations with our children about the why and really help them get educated, they're smart and they want to move forward and make healthy choices.
April, I think you really nailed it there. Given that why, given that context, doing the whole, not just because I said so. I mean, if we can just make that transition, like you said, I think that can make all the difference in the world. So I actually was hoping, Aaliyah, you would actually give us a little final word of wisdom here on your 16th birthday, because I know you have firsthand experience with this in school. So if you've got someone who's in the same stage of life as you are, or maybe you were, what would be the one piece of advice you would want them to take away from this episode?
I think it's just to not have everything that not focus on everything you've learned in the past about calorie counting and just like the super easy foods to make that aren't healthy, and just to eat way less, because that's something I didn't know anything about. I had no idea that it was possible or like encouraged to eat more of the best kinds of foods. So I think if kids can just know that there's foods out there that are so good for you and that you should just eat so much of, just to go for that and to not keep yourself hungry.
Boom! I love it. And on that note, everybody, remember, we'll be back soon, and stay sane.